The United States Senate just descended into absolute chaos. A total of 18 Republican senators joined all 51 Democrats this morning to advance articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, marking the first time in American history that a president faces impeachment proceedings led by members of his own party while still in office. And this isn't symbolic protest or political posturing. This is a bipartisan coalition forming around allegations so serious that senators who built their careers defending Trump are now calling for his removal, triggered by revelations from a classified intelligence briefing that even Trump's closest allies describe as devastating. When the Senate Majority Whip breaks ranks to co-sponsor impeachment articles alongside the opposing party, you know the political foundation supporting this president just collapsed. Hit that subscribe button right now because you won't want to miss any of the videos I released. So what triggered this unprecedented Republican revolt? According to multiple senators who attended a classified briefing on January 20th, intelligence officials presented evidence that Trump personally authorized the sharing of highly classified signals, intelligence with a foreign adversary in exchange for personal business concessions, conduct that senators from both parties characterized as an unmistakable betrayal of oath and country. Sources familiar with the briefing say the evidence includes intercepted communications, financial records, and testimony from national security officials who witnessed the exchanges. This isn't just another impeachment driven by partisan differences or policy disputes. Constitutional scholars are calling this the most serious threat to a sitting presidency since Watergate. And believe me, when Republican senators who voted to acquit Trump in 2 previous impeachments now lead the charge for his removal, something catastrophic has fractured the party beyond repair. Here's the full picture of what's been unfolding. Tensions have been building since early January when the Senate Intelligence Committee, led by Chairman Mark Warner and Vice Chairman Marco Rubio, began investigating unauthorized disclosures of classified information. But everything exploded on January 20th when the full Senate received a mandatory classified briefing about what intelligence officials described as grave and immediate threats to national security, stemming from executive branch actions. The briefing, conducted in the Senate's secure facility by Director of National Intelligence A.L. Haynes and NSA Director Timothy Hoff, lasted 4 hours and left senators from both parties visibly shaken. According to senators who spoke to reporters immediately afterward, the briefing detailed a pattern of conduct spanning 6 months where Trump allegedly provided classified signals, intelligence about U.S. capabilities in the South China Sea, to representatives of a foreign government in exchange for approval of Trump Organization development projects worth an estimated $2 billion. The intelligence presented reportedly included decrypted communications between Trump and foreign officials, financial transfers tracked by Treasury Department investigators, and sworn testimony from 4 separate national security officials who reported the conduct through proper whistleblower channels. What makes this particularly explosive is the nature of the intelligence allegedly shared. According to Senator Angus King, who chairs the Intelligence Committee's Cybersecurity Subcommittee, the classified information Trump allegedly disclosed compromises ongoing military operations, reveals intelligence collection methods that took decades to develop, and exposes human sources whose lives are now in jeopardy. This wasn't about political disagreements over foreign policy or even questionable judgment. This was about allegations that the President of the United States traded national security secrets for personal financial gain. Smash that like button if this is making sense so far. Here's where it really gets serious. Within 2 hours of the classified briefing ending, Republican Senator Mitt Romney called an emergency meeting of what he termed concerned Republicans in a secure conference room. According to staffers who were present in the hallway, 17 Republican senators attended that meeting, including Senate Majority Whip John Thune, Senate Judiciary Chair Lindsey Graham, Senator Marco Rubio, Senator Lisa Muskie, Senator Susan Collins, Senator Bill Cassidy, and Senator Todd Young. The meeting lasted 90 minutes, and what happened inside, according to multiple senators who later spoke on condition of anonymity, was described as the most emotional and consequential gathering of Republican senators in modern history. Senator Romney began the meeting by stating plainly, according to sources who recounted his remarks, "We have just seen evidence that the President of the United States has betrayed his oath of office for personal profit. If we do not act, we make ourselves complicit in that betrayal. History will judge us by what we do in the next 48 hours. The room fell silent. Senator Lindsey Graham, who has been one of Trump's most consistent defenders, reportedly stood and said, his voice breaking, "According to witnesses, Mitt is right. I've defended this president through everything. I've explained away conduct that made me uncomfortable because I believed he was pursuing legitimate policy goals, but what we saw in that briefing room, that's not politics. That's not policy disagreement. That's treason by any reasonable definition of the term." According to senators present, Graham's statement changed the tenor of the room immediately. Senator Marco Rubio, sitting on the Intelligence Committee and having access to even more detailed information, reportedly added, "The intelligence is irrefutable. There are intercepts, there are financial records, there are witnesses who will testify. If we don't impeach for this, we're saying there's nothing a president can't do. Drop a comment right now if you saw this coming. I read every single one." Now things get absolutely explosive. By 1800 p.m. that evening, the group of Republican senators had drafted articles of impeachment, an extraordinary step given that impeachment traditionally originates in the House. But according to Senator Romney, who later explained the decision in a press conference, the House is controlled by Republicans who have shown they will not hold this president accountable. The Senate has a constitutional duty to act when we have direct knowledge of high crimes. We are fulfilling that duty. The articles of impeachment released to the public at midnight on January 21st contain two charges. Article 1 alleges betrayal of national security for personal gain, specifically charging that Trump did knowingly and willfully disclose classified intelligence regarding United States military capabilities and operations to representatives of a foreign power in exchange for business concessions benefiting Trump Organization entities. Article 2 alleges obstruction of congressional oversight, charging that Trump did direct executive branch officials to withhold information from Congress regarding the aforementioned disclosures and did instruct witnesses to refuse congressional subpoenas. But the truly devastating part of the impeachment articles is what's included in the supporting documentation. The articles reference classified annexa, a sealed document that contains specific evidence available only to senators with appropriate clearances. However, the public portions of the articles quote extensively from declassified portions of intelligence reports. One paragraph states, "On August 12, 2024, during a meeting at the president's private club, intercepted communications revealed the president disclosed to foreign official name, redacted the precise capabilities and locations of specific intelligence collection system, redacted information classified at the top secret SCI level in exchange for foreign government approval of Trump Organization. Development project name redacted." Another paragraph details financial flows. On August 15, 2024, 3 days after the aforementioned disclosure, wire transfers totaling $847 million were initiated from entities controlled by foreign government, redacted to accounts associated with Trump Organization projects, transfers that Treasury Department investigators have concluded represent quid pro quo payments. This move sent shockwaves through Washington and the nation. When Republican senators draft impeachment articles against a Republican president using classified intelligence as evidence, and when those articles include specific dates, dollar amounts, and descriptions of classified materials allegedly shared, the political calculation has completely shifted. This isn't the first time Trump has faced impeachment, but the circumstances are fundamentally different. During the first impeachment over Ukraine, House Democrats led proceedings. Senate Republicans dismissed charges as partisan. Only Romney voted to convict. The party held together. Then came the second impeachment. After January 6th, 7 Republican senators voted to convict, the most bipartisan vote in history, but nowhere near the 2/3 needed. Most Republicans argued the conduct didn't meet the constitutional standard. Subscribe immediately if you haven't yet. This content doesn't exist anywhere else. Now it's completely different. This impeachment is led by Republican senators themselves. The allegations involve concrete intelligence evidence, not disputed testimony. The charges include sharing classified information for personal financial gain, and 18 Republican senators have already committed to conviction, with 8 to 10 more considering joining. The pattern is clear. Trump survived previous impeachments through party loyalty. But when evidence involves verifiable intelligence intercepts and financial records showing personal profit from sharing military secrets, even partisan loyalty has limits. So, what exactly triggered this mass Republican defection? According to senators who have spoken publicly and intelligence, officials familiar with the briefing materials, three specific pieces of evidence proved dispositive. First, intercepted communications between Trump and foreign officials. The NSA presented senators with decrypted transcripts of phone calls and encrypted messaging apps where Trump allegedly discussed classified information. According to Senator Angus King, who described the intercepts in general terms without revealing classified details, there are communications where the president explicitly states he is sharing information that he acknowledges is classified, and where he explicitly connects that sharing to business deals he wants approved. The intercepts reportedly include Trump using specific code words for classified programs, demonstrating he knew exactly what he was sharing. Second, financial records showing quid pro quo payments. Treasury Department financial intelligence investigators traced wire transfers totaling $2.3 billion between foreign entities and Trump Organization accounts or projects over a 6-month period. According to Senator Elizabeth Warren, who sits on the Banking Committee, the pattern is unmistakable. Classified disclosure happens within days, massive financial transfers occur. This pattern repeats across multiple incidents. The Treasury investigation reportedly identified 11 separate instances where this pattern occurred. Here's the absolute kicker. The third piece of evidence involves testimony from national security officials who witnessed the conduct and reported it through proper whistleblower channels. 4 separate officials, including 2 military officers, 1 NSA analyst, and 1 White House national security staffer, filed protected disclosures describing instances where Trump discussed sharing or actually shared classified information. In context, they recognized as potentially connected to business interests. One whistleblower report, portions of which were declassified and included in the impeachment articles, describes a September 2024 meeting where Trump allegedly told advisors they want to know about our satellite capabilities. I'll tell them what they want to know if they approve the Jakarta project. Don't go anywhere. The most explosive part is coming next. And here's what should alarm everyone, regardless of political affiliation. This isn't just about Trump or this specific alleged conduct. If a president can trade classified military intelligence for personal business deals and face no consequences because his party controls enough Senate votes to prevent conviction, the constitutional system of checks and balances has effectively died. Once that precedent is established, future presidents of either party will understand they can monetize their access to classified information for personal gain as long as they maintain sufficient partisan support. The implications for national security are catastrophic. This puts Trump in an absolutely impossible political and legal position. On one side, he faces impeachment proceedings with bipartisan support in the Senate, meaning he could actually be convicted and removed from office if enough Republicans join the 18 who have already committed. That would make him the first president in American history to be removed through impeachment. On the other side, he confronts evidence that senators on the Intelligence Committee describe as ironclad, meaning denying the allegations becomes increasingly difficult as more details emerge. And here's the impossible bind. If Trump claims he didn't share classified information, he directly contradicts intercepts that senators say clearly show him doing exactly that. If he admits sharing information but claims it was for legitimate policy reasons, he faces the financial records showing personal payments that Treasury investigators characterize as quid pro quo. If he claims presidential authority to declassify anything, he still faces the allegation that he did so for personal profit, which violates his oath regardless of declassification authority. There's no defense strategy that addresses all three pieces of evidence simultaneously. Constitutional scholars and former officials are calling this the gravest constitutional crisis since Watergate and potentially more serious. Lawrence Tribe, Harvard constitutional law professor, stated on CNN that if the allegations are proven, this represents the most clear-cut impeachable offense in American history. The founders specifically feared presidents who would abuse their position for personal gain and betray national security. This is exactly the scenario they designed impeachment to address. Former CIA Director John Brennan told NBC that the alleged conduct would constitute not just impeachable offenses, but potentially criminal violations of espionage laws. Sharing classified information in exchange for personal payments is precisely what we prosecute foreign spies for doing. He emphasized that if a CIA officer engaged in identical conduct, they would face decades in prison. Do me a favor and slam that like button. because it genuinely helps this video reach more people. Even Republicans who have consistently defended Trump acknowledged the seriousness of the allegations. Former Attorney General William Barr, who served in Trump's administration, wrote in a Washington Post op-ed that while I have defended the president's actions in many contexts, the allegations described in the impeachment articles, if proven, would constitute a fundamental betrayal of the presidential oath. No person, regardless of party, should excuse such conduct. So let's break down what this means. First, unprecedented political chaos. The Senate is paralyzed conducting impeachment proceedings. All legislative business stops, confirmations halt, appropriations stall. The government grinds to a standstill. Unlike previous impeachments dismissed as partisan, this has genuine bipartisan support, meaning a full trial with witnesses and evidence that could last months. Second, massive implications for governance. Cabinet officials and agency heads calculate whether to follow directives from a president who might be removed within weeks. Military commanders question whether to implement orders from a commander-in-chief accused of betraying national security. Foreign allies wonder if intelligence shared with the US is secure. The presidency weakens before any vote. Finally, institutional implications fundamentally alter how the presidency functions. If Trump is convicted and removed, it establishes the Senate can and will remove presidents who betray their oaths regardless of party. Future presidents will understand some conduct is so egregious that partisan loyalty won't protect them. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'm genuinely curious to see your perspective, but beyond immediate political fallout, this represents a test of whether the constitutional system can still function as designed. The founders created impeachment as remedy for exactly this conduct. A president abusing office for personal gain and threatening national security. If the system works, Trump faces conviction and removal, establishing no president is above the law. If the system fails, if partisan loyalty prevails despite overwhelming evidence, it demonstrates impeachment is dead and presidents can engage in virtually any conduct without consequence. This scenario is causing absolute pandemonium within the Senate and throughout Washington. Reports indicate the Senate has been in nearly continuous session since the impeachment articles were introduced. With both parties holding emergency caucus meetings attempting to manage their members, Republican leadership faces an impossible situation. Pressure Trump loyalists to consider conviction while preventing moderates from defecting in numbers sufficient to remove the president. Democratic leadership must manage expectations while ensuring their caucus remains unified. Meanwhile, the White House is in crisis mode. Trump has reportedly been meeting with lawyers around the clock, attempting to develop a legal and political strategy. Early statements from the White House characterized the impeachment as a deep state coup and claimed the intelligence evidence was fabricated by enemies within the government. But polling conducted after the impeachment articles were released shows that 64% of Americans believe the Senate should conduct a full trial with witnesses, including 38% of Republicans. Things escalated further when Trump himself addressed the nation on television Thursday evening. He denied all allegations, attacked Republican senators who supported impeachment as traitors and rhinos, and claimed the entire proceeding was designed to prevent his re-election. But legal experts noted Trump did not address the specific evidence described in the articles, focusing instead on general denials and attacks on process. Stay with me, because what comes next will completely change your understanding of where this leads. Here's what makes Trump's position so precarious and his response so legally dangerous. By attacking the Republican senators who introduced the impeachment articles, Trump is alienating the very people whose votes he needs to avoid conviction. Senate rules require a two-thirds vote for conviction, meaning 67 senators, with all 51 Democrats likely to vote for conviction and 18 Republicans already committed. Trump needs to prevent 16 additional Republican defections, but by calling those 18 senators traitors and threatening them with primary challenges, Trump gives other wavering Republicans cover to vote for conviction by framing it as standing up to a president who attacks his own party. Political analysts immediately identified this strategic disaster. Stuart Stevens, former Republican strategist, tweeted that Trump is doing the Democrats' job for them. Every attack on Republican senators makes conviction more likely, not less. Larry Sabato noted that Trump's response demonstrates the same pattern we've seen before, attacking rather than explaining, which works with the base, but alienates the swing senators whose votes determine the outcome. This goes far beyond one impeachment or one presidency. It's about whether the United States can maintain a system where national security secrets are protected from monetization by those entrusted with them. If a president can share classified military intelligence for personal profit without facing removal, then every future president understands that as long as they maintain partisan support, they can treat classified information as a personal asset. That's not just dangerous. It's a complete breakdown of the system that has protected American security for 75 years. If this blows your mind, hit that like button right now. Here's the current situation. 18 Republican senators have joined Democrats in advancing impeachment articles against Trump based on evidence of sharing classified intelligence for personal gain. The Senate must now conduct a full trial. Trump faces genuine risk of conviction and removal if more Republicans join the coalition. And the entire constitutional system faces a test of whether impeachment can function as designed when evidence of presidential misconduct is overwhelming. This isn't political theater or partisan warfare. This is the closest America has come to removing a sitting president through the constitutional process since Nixon resigned rather than face certain conviction. When senators from the president's own party lead impeachment proceedings citing ironclad intelligence evidence, when articles of impeachment include specific financial transactions and intercepted communications, when even former officials who served the president acknowledge the allegations are serious enough to warrant removal, the system is being tested in ways it hasn't been since the founding. Keep an extremely close eye on this story, because the Senate trial will determine not just Trump's fate, but the future of presidential accountability. The trial is expected to begin within 2 weeks, with Chief Justice presiding as required by the Constitution. Prosecutors will present the classified evidence in closed session, allowing all senators to review materials they couldn't see publicly. Witnesses will testify, including potentially the intelligence officials who briefed the Senate and the whistleblowers who reported the conduct. Trump's defense team will present their case. Though legal experts note the challenges of defending against intercepted communications and financial records. And at the end of what could be a months-long trial, 100 senators will vote on whether to convict and remove a sitting president. Before we go any further, smash that subscribe button so you never miss content like this, because this constitutional crisis is unfolding in real time and represents the most serious threat to a presidency in modern American history. Here's where things stand right now. The United States Senate, for the first time in history, is controlled by a bipartisan coalition seeking to remove a sitting president from their own party. The evidence they cite includes intercepted communications, financial records, and whistleblower testimony that senators from both parties describe as overwhelming. Trump's political survival depends on preventing additional Republican defections, but his strategy of attacking those who broke ranks appears to be accelerating rather than preventing defection. This isn't just another impeachment that ends in acquittal along party lines. This is a genuine test of whether the constitutional system can remove a president who allegedly betrayed his oath for personal profit. What happens in the coming weeks will determine whether presidential misconduct has meaningful consequences or whether partisan loyalty trumps all other considerations. The articles have been filed, the trial will proceed, and the nation watches to see if the constitutional system, designed to prevent exactly this type of conduct, will function as the founders intended. The stakes have never been higher for the presidency as an institution. The evidence has never been more concrete, and the constitutional crisis has never been more immediate. Pause for a second and hit that like button if you're finding value in this coverage.